Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Frank Mularcik, and in this video we're going to be talking about what I think are the best 3 dividend stocks that have a high dividend CAGR. So I'm definitely using this term loosely. Generally speaking, I feel like a high CAGR is 10+%, because those are generally the companies that are raising their dividends, and that's, I would say, just what most people consider a high CAGR. So those are the companies that we are going to be talking about today. So the first company we're going to be talking about today is Microsoft, and currently they have a dividend yield of only 0.81%, but they do have a pretty low payout ratio of 28.83%, which means they have a ton of room to grow that dividend, and their dividend growth rate is around 9.5%, which is actually lower than the 10% that I just said, but Microsoft is just that great of a company that I think it deserves to be in this list, because it just has so much potential ahead of it from a dividend perspective and a growth perspective. So I think it's just all around a great company, and especially for someone younger that has a lot of time for that dividend to grow, I think it's a fantastic choice. It does have 17 years of consecutive dividend growth, which is pretty good. Not fantastic compared to some other companies, but it is a tech company, so the fact that it does pay a dividend at all is pretty great, I think. And also we can just look at their stock price and how it's looking right now. Right now they're pretty much at all-time highs, $277 a share. They just passed the $2 trillion mark. So this graph here goes back to the beginning of 2019, and crazy, they were under $100 at that point. And I think I started picking up shares around here around 180 back last summer, basically pretty much a year ago. And then, I thought it was sort of expensive at that point because it was above, pre-COVID levels. And then, it just has kept going ever since then. And, there's been some drawdowns and stuff, but, nothing as drastic since back here. So, looking a little bit more closely, you can see it's been going up and down, but recently they're pretty much at all-time highs, like I said. And I don't think there's ever a bad time necessarily to buy Microsoft stock, because you're buying what I would argue is one of the greatest companies in the world, and they've just continued to innovate and produce great products and great services and great software. So I think it is a great company, so they're probably going to trade at a premium to some degree. But for me, I'm happy with my position in Microsoft, so I'm not going to be adding any more at this point. But, if you wanted to open a position, I don't think it would be a terrible time to start, just because it is a great company. And the second company we're going to be looking at is Air Products and Chemicals. And for those of you that don't know, because I think it's not as popular as Microsoft, at least, Air Products and Chemicals is a materials company. They produce various chemicals and gases and stuff like that for industrial purposes mostly. And looking at the dividends here, they do pay a dividend of right around 2%, which is a lot higher than Microsoft's, but still, not that high of a dividend yield for a lot of dividend stocks. Payout ratio of 66%, which is pretty good there. And the dividend growth rate recently in the last 5 years is right around 13%. I think their most recent dividend increase in the spring sometime was around 12%. And, they have been growing that dividend for around 38 years, which is pretty awesome to see. And Air Products and Chemicals, in my opinion, is just an underlooked stock by a lot of people. And, they've provided great returns and great dividends for a lot of investors, I think. And if we look at the stock price right now, it's right around $291 a share, I think. Sorry for all these ads on FinViz. It kind of annoys me a lot, but there's always a ton on here. So we can see, pretty much sort of trading sideways the last 8 months or so. And it's on a little bit of a downtrend right now. We can look at these little lines that they show for us of the moving averages and such. It's a little bit on a bit of a downtrend right now. And if we look a little bit further out, we can see, it's still well above pre-COVID levels. I think I started buying here around 220, 230, and then right after that they had a big jump up in price to around the 290 level, which they've been kind of bouncing around ever since. And it was, I bought some more in the 260s, I think 270s, 280s, so really not a bad price right now. Obviously it's near highs, but if you're looking to start a position like Microsoft, not the worst time. My position is pretty well built out, at least for these price points, so I'm not going to be adding here. If it drops definitely to like 260s, 270s, I would definitely consider buying there, and maybe just take a little bit of a better look to determine where I want to enter there again. And the final stock we're going to be looking at today is AbbVie, ticker symbol ABBV. And most of you probably know, but they're a pharmaceutical company. And one of their biggest products, I think it accounts for around 50% of their revenue, is Humira. And so that's a concern of some investors because they do have patent protection on that, and that patent protection is set to run out in 2023, I believe. So some investors are concerned that they're sort of too reliant on that Humira revenue, and when that patent expires, they will lose a lot of revenue as other competitors come in and produce generic versions and beat out some of their competition, or at least force them to lower their prices a little bit. So that is a concern, but if you look at some of the financials, their percentage of revenue from Humira has been decreasing in the last few years, and they do have some great drugs in the pipeline, I think. And looking at the dividends here, you can see they have a pretty nice yield of 4.5%, which for any dividend stock is fantastic, but for a dividend stock that has a high CAGR, that is pretty much exceptional, because a lot of times that dividend stocks with higher yields will have lower CAGRs, and the dividend stocks with higher CAGRs will have lower yields. So that's something that's pretty interesting, and their payout ratio right around 41% there, which is just very nice to see, especially from that very healthy yield. And then the dividend growth rate over the past 5 years is a fantastic 18%, and hopefully they'll be able to keep that up. Seeking Alpha says they've only been increasing the dividend 8 years, but that was actually when they spun off from Abbott Labs. So if you count the years from Abbott Labs, I think they're pretty much near a dividend king at 50 years. And looking again at FinViz for the price action, you can see they're pretty much at all-time highs right now, and I think they'll probably just continue moving up slowly but surely. They'll have this up and down action a little bit like this, but I'm confident that they'll just continue going up. And if there's a pullback in the market or there's some drastic news, I'm sure they could drop significantly, but I just don't see that happening because of how popular it is as a stock. And I could certainly be wrong, but I just think that even at these prices, they're a little bit undervalued, and that this is, as good an entry point as any. Obviously, it would have been better to, start buying back in the 80s, but, you can't do that right now, at least. And sometimes when you just wait, like you see with Microsoft as well, if you just wait, well, the stock price just keeps going up and up and up, and you don't have a, place to enter. If we look a little bit further out, the stock price, you can see just how much it's been going up. It was around, all the way down in the 60s, low 60s, just last spring in 2020, and it's almost double that right now. So that's pretty astounding to see. And I think overall AbbVie is just a great company and will continue to do great things in the future. So let me know what you guys do think of these companies. Obviously, there's a lot of great dividend stocks out there, and a lot of dividend stocks with pretty nice dividend CAGRs. So it's hard to choose the top 3 per se, but I just wanted to focus on a few here for this video. And I actually did a stock analysis video on Microsoft pretty recently, so I will leave a link right up here for you guys to check out if you do want to watch that. And thank you guys for watching to the end of the video. I do appreciate that, and I will see you in the next one.